Hey everyone, welcome to episode number 2 of the Buffalo Music Mafia. My name is Thomas S. Orwat Jr. I'm from glammetal.com and rockmusicstar.com. And my co-host over here is,
Joseph Sudo from rockshowcritique.com.
and we are here. We have gathered together for episode number 2. Joe had a great idea of talking about our 5 favorite Aerosmith songs that weren't necessarily songs that you hear on the radio a lot. So Joe had this great idea. So we're going to discuss these 5 songs. But Joe, wouldn't it be great if we had some kind of expert guest? I mean, we did promise our viewers last time that we were going to have guests when we do this. Can you think of anyone that might we could maybe possibly ask to be a guest on this
Ah,
episode?
yeah, I got somebody. Why don't we
Who you
ask
got?
Cowboy Mach Bell?
Cowboy Mach Bell. I Yeah, that's a great idea. Let me put up my Cowboy Mach Bell signal and see if we could possibly get him. Hey, so there he is. Cowboy
Hey,
Mach.
Mach.
How you
Hey,
doing?
Joe, good to see you again, guys. Wow.
Hey, welcome to the Buffalo Music Mafia, episode number 2. Where we needed an expert today to talk about some Aerosmith songs, and Joe said, "Well, what about Cowboy Mach Bell?" And I was like, "Why didn't I think of that? Of course, he is the expert." So Mach, what we're doing today is we're just talking about like our favorite 5 Aerosmith songs that weren't necessarily, the classics, the Dream Ons, the Walk This Way, the songs that should have been huge, and we thought before we get into that, we would ask you about the 5 Aerosmith songs that you sang when you were a member of the Joe Perry Project from 1982 to 1984. What were some of the songs that you sang? But before we even do that, Mark, what I want to do is let's tell everybody about your amazing book that you have out. It came out in 2019, and there it is right there. Once a rocker, always a rocker. Mark, before we get started with this, why don't you tell everybody how they can buy this amazing book?
Thanks, Thomas. Oncearocker.com. Come to oncearocker.com. You can find out about my book. It's a diary of the years I was on tour with Joe Perry and the Joe Perry Project. And oncearocker.com has everything you need: audiobooks, ebooks, paperbacks. Get one for each hand and a foot. Oncearocker.com. For anybody that's interested uh, in the good old Joe Perry days, in between Aerosmith, and also just the early '80s was a really great time for rock and roll, and it was a funny time to be touring America when it was just such a very different world back then, and you realize that as you read the diary how technology and culture has changed so much.
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay. So while you're in the Joe Perry Project, you did sing some Aerosmith songs with the Joe Perry Project. Tell us about like your 5 favorite Aerosmith songs that you sang while a member of the Joe Perry Project from 1982 to 1984.
We did. From the time I auditioned with Joe, we started out. I think the first uh, Aerosmith tune I ever did with Joe, and Brad was in the band as well with the project at the time, was Same Old Song and Dance off the second album. And we also did the great Train Kept Rolling off the second album. Um, I particularly liked doing Train because it, it was a Yardbirds hit. It had been around years before that too, but Joe and I both knew it as a Yardbirds song, and I'd mimed to that song as a little 11 and 12-year old in my room, playing along with my Yardbirds record. I'd always go back there when I was on stage with Joe. Uh, so those two, most of the things I did with Joe were the bigger hits. You know, these aren't the B sides. From the
Mm.
third album, we did Toys in the Attic. We opened with that song when I started with the band. And we also did Walk This Way with the famous Joe Perry riff. We didn't start out doing that one, you know. I think I was 6 months into the band before we finally cracked open the Walk This Way. And that was
Really?
a powerful tune to pull out whenever we were doing a show, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Fourth album, the Rocks album, we did Back in the Saddle was the only song off that album, and we did that one a lot, and I enjoyed that. And Joe played his played a big giant Fender bass, a 6-string bass, the Fender 6. Um, you'd have Brad playing guitar, and Joe would play that bass, and that's the bass that he used on the Aerosmith record. That's why it
Oh
has
wow.
such a huge, heavy sound. The marriage of the guitar and that 6-string bass. Um, Once we turned into a quartet, when Brad left, we didn't do that song as much. I think it really helps to have the guitar and the bass together for that tune.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. On I had to write it down. On the next album was Draw the Line, right? And that was Bright Light Fright, which Joe was a main. He wrote the lyric on that, I believe. Now that one wasn't a huge hit, but
No.
the kids,
Great song.
kids really knew it well at the Joe Perry Project gigs, and it was super popular. The only other thing I ever did from an actual Aerosmith album was off the bootleg. At the very end, we played "I Ain't Got You,"
Hmm.
another it's a Mose Allison tune that the Yardbirds made a hit with. We had by that time, in the last few gigs, we had Joey Kramer in the band, so Joey and Joe Perry both knew that song by heart, and the rest everybody knows "I Ain't Got You."
Yeah.
So we pulled that one back. So
Wow.
the Aerosmith songs that I performed with the band.
Wow. Okay. What we're gonna do now is let's talk about someone like our favorite Aerosmith songs are that aren't necessarily the like the big hits, the Dream Ons, the Walk This Way, songs that should have been big that didn't quite make it. And Mark, if you want to, tell us over some of the songs that you wish that you had a crack of, and that you were able that you wish you could have performed with the Joe Perry Project. How does that sound?
Sure, I'll go. We didn't do anything off the first album ever. Um, I went to see Aerosmith in '71, the beginning of '71, and one of their first handful of dates before Brad Whitford was in Aerosmith. Um, but they performed two original songs at that gig, Mama Kin and Somebody. And Somebody just, I love both the tunes, but Somebody was a tune that I think I would have liked to have done with, tried, you know, tried doing with Joe.
Sure.
Um, the other tune off that first album that I really dug, speaking of Doug, is Dig, or they used to call it on the badly printed first album, they called it Walking the Dig. It then
Really?
became Walking the Dog
Right.
for the first whatever 10,000 copies finally sold. Uh, Walking the Dog, another a Rufus Thomas cover, but oh, Steven just made that into his own. That it was just that, and they also did Route 66, an incredible version of that tune,
Hmm.
uh, which isn't on the album. But anyway, so walking the dig, walking the dog, and somebody off the first album. Would have loved to have done those two.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna say my number five song that I love, and it maybe got some airplay at first, but I'm going to mention "Sick as a Dog," which I think is just a very very high energy song. I prefer the one off bootleg, which I think bootleg is absolutely incredible. It's my favorite live record of all time. It like automatically like it puts me back into like being a kid back in the '70s and like just cranking it on the stereo system and having like family over. I mean, it brings back some great memories. Um, so I'm going to go with "Sick as a Dog." I think that Perry's guitar playing on it is outstanding. It should have received some airplay. Just a classic high energy Aerosmith song.
Yeah, that almost made my list, Thomas. I agree with that song. The weird thing is on the live bootleg version, he messes up. Tyler messes up the lyrics all over the place. If you
But
ever
that's the
caught that,
magic of the
but
live
that's what
bootleg
makes it
record,
even better. Exactly.
right?
All right, so with my number five, I'm actually pulling out a song that Joe Perry did not even play on, believe it or not. I'm pulling up Joni's Butterfly off of the Rock in a Hard Place album, which came out in 1982. Um, of course, Jimmy Crespo was a guitarist at that point, and he co-wrote that song with Steven. And oh, it just gives it's like a very unique Aerosmith song. You know, they never really did another song like that ever again. But it really, for some reason, it always hit home with me. I really love it. And, you know, this is a good segue here from a question I have for Mark, since we're talking Rock in a Hard Place. Now, that album actually came out when you were in the Joe Perry project, from August of 1982. And I thought about this, and I went looking for the book because I didn't remember you mentioning anything about that album coming out. So I was just wondering if you remember when it did come out, what the reaction was from Joe and yourself and the band. You know, what your takes were on it, back when it came out.
Yeah, that's a good question, Joe. And unfortunately, I kind of remember a little bit, but unfortunately, I didn't write about that in the diary. And I mean, the diary was written back then when it happened, and my own memory's hard. I will say at that point, things had started tough with the project. When I joined, Joe was in poor health, and then he had a terrible collapse on stage, and then there was a period where we were off the road for a month and a half. Finally got back on the road. We were finally really, it was, the rubber was hitting the road finally, and it was right around that time. I think we just left on our first American tour, in cross country tour in August, probably right at the time the Aerosmith album was coming out. I think we were so full of ourselves and what we were doing that we didn't have too much time to spend uh, wondering what was up with Aerosmith. And certainly we weren't going to talk about it in front of Joe because we just didn't know how he felt about that kind of thing. Um, as it was, the album, you know, it, I thought it was a great album. It had a certain amount of success, but it wasn't like playing on the radio all the time in our van. If they'd had three huge hits off it, like Permanent Vacation, and it was like playing all the time, I think it would have made it into my book, and there would have been more about it. But uh, it was awesome Aerosmith album, but the kind of music Aerosmith and the Joe Perry Project were playing were not what the audiences in 1982, outside of you and Thomas, wanted to hear at that point. People were looking for Culture Club and a whole different thing.
So I'm going to go with a song called "My Fist, Your Face" from "Done with Mirrors," and another aggressive song. "Done with Mirrors" was released on November 4th, 1985. It was like about a year after Joe got back with the band. It did all right, I guess. I mean, it wasn't like the Aerosmith records that would like debut in the top 10 by any means. It did get up to number 36 on the Billboard charts. This song was a classic Tyler Perry song. Just another really intense song. It was the record. The production was kind of weird. All that's what I'm going to go for number four. Just a great non-single track. Just really again aggressive classic Aerosmith, Steve Tyler, Joe Perry track.
Did you have any other tracks you were going to mention, Mark?
Well, I have a couple other tunes that I would have.
Yeah. All right, go ahead and give us one more.
Um, off the super huge double punch of Toys in the Attic and Rocks. I don't really have tunes on there that I wanted to sing because those songs, Steven Tyler, such a genius and such a vocal gymnast. Well, speaking of a gymnast, he's like a gymnast would. If you're going to do your gymnastic thing at the Olympics, you create a routine that shows your best things. If you're good at doing splits or doing flips, you're flipping and doing whatever it is you do all over the place. And Steven writes these songs that just spotlight these crazy things that he can do with his voice and places he can go. Um, so those songs, I don't even want to go there. If I was to go to one of those songs, I would want to go the way Steven did when he sang "Let the Music Do the Talking" from the Joe Perry Project. He rewrote the lyrics. and he even rewrote the melody that the lyrics are sung against. The chorus of the song is the same, but the verses are very different. And that would be so I skipped those records. The only one, I mentioned the songs that I did sing off of those. Um, Rats in the Cellar, though, that one I think I would have had some fun taking a shot at. Never had a chance. And on Draw the Line, I would have taken a shot at. That song is similar to our Let the Music Do the Talking, and I think that's one of the reasons we never did it was because Joe was saving that clear body Dan Electro slide guitar that he does the bottleneck, Let the Music Do the Talking for the end of the show. He didn't want to bring it out twice, earlier to play Draw the Line. He always incorporated a little bit of Draw the Line into Let the Music Do the Talking when
Oh,
he
wow.
did it live. He'd rip off a few of those of the signature lick from Draw the Line. Um, but Milk Cow Blues off that album is another one that I would like to sing. Once again, I'm chickening out because that's not really a Steven Tyler original. That goes back, for me, it goes back to the Kinks, and it might go
Yeah.
back before the Kinks. The Inflictors, a Boston rock band at the Rat, used to do a great version of Milk Cow Blues, and Steven would occasionally come down to that little uh, cellar hole and sing it with them. Um, and to finish my rant, the other song that I would take a shot at is off Night in the Ruts. Um, Think About It.
Yardbirds.
Once again, Yardbird song. So we're going back to something that's not totally got the Tyler stamp on it. Tyler puts a stamp on anything he sings, but it's I feel more leeway if I go back to a tune that I know from the Yardbirds version, and I could, I might steal some of Steven's stuff and a little bit of Keith Relf's stuff, and it would end up sounding like Mach Bell though, because there's not much I can do about it.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Thank,
Exactly.
Thanks, Joe.
All right. So let me get my number 4 in here real quick. I just wanted to get that out of the way there because I thought we skipped mock. I just want to make sure we're in good shape here.
Never skip mock.
All right. So my number 4 is actually off of the Chip Away the Stone. Actually, I like the live bootleg version better by a mile. Because that was the one that was always out there. The studio version of Chip Away the Stone never came out till later on down the road. But that song live, just unbelievable. I'm just haven't gotten a chance to see it live yet in person, but I did hear him do it during a sound check once with no vocals. So I don't know. That's about as close as I'm probably ever gonna get, unfortunately. So that's my number 4. So
Okay, well, I'll go with number three. My number three is a song that I think is just one of the ultimate Aerosmith songs, and it's off of Night in the Ruts, um, which was a record that Joe Perry was involved in, but he left like towards the end of recording the record. And the song I'm talking about is a song that Perry and Tyler wrote together called "No Surprise." This is a great song. This kind of like lyrically deals with Aerosmith and their rise to fame, and all the the adventures and obstacles that they faced playing at Max's Kansas City. And it's just a great, powerful song. And Steven Tyler, I mean, there's just so many words in that song. It's just it just shows the genius of Steven Tyler as far as his lyric writing goes. And Perry is on fire on this, and it just it's really sad that he left the band at that point. I mean, can you imagine if he brought like Let the Music Do the Talking into that record? I mean, it would have been a whole different story. And they did try to make this a single. The record company did try to promote it as a single, but it kind of failed. It didn't really get much airplay or much traction. They did make a MTV video with it, but Joe had already left the band, and Jimmy Crespo was in the video, and the band looks great. I mean, Steven Tyler looks great. The whole band looks, very a lot of energy, and Jimmy Crespo looks super cool. I mean, almost as cool as Joe Perry, if that's even possible in this video. So, no surprise from Night in the Ruts is my number three.
Okay. All right. So my number three is probably. I know there's a lot of stories behind this one. How even Steven Tyler didn't even recognize his own song when he heard it one time. But "You See Me Crying," if you read the Aerosmith documentary, and it tells all about it in there. That song, believe it or not, they were supposed to be playing the whole "Toys in the Attic" album on the 2009 tour, but that was when Tyler fell off the stage and hurt himself, and they had to cancel like the rest of the tour. And they only managed to play "You See Me Crying" once during that tour. I guess they didn't like the way it sounded during the sound check rehearsals or something. So they played it. I think it was yeah, it was Jones Beach. There's a video on YouTube. It's the only time they've ever played it live, and I guess he played it live due to for Liv because Liv was there. But that ballad just goes to show you how at that time, even that early on, how I mean that song had it been released later on as a single, probably would have cleaned up if it was in the 80s or whatever. But for some reason, it just never did anything. But that song is just one of those songs that it just captures you, drags you right in, and just a great song, no doubt about it.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree with you. That almost made my list as well. So where are we? We're at number two right now, right? Number
Yeah. Do
two.
you have anything else on your end, Mock, to add to somebody any other songs?
The only thing I have to add is that I agreed with Thomas's last one, except when he said that he was sad that Joe left Aerosmith because Joe hadn't the project wouldn't have happened.
Well, of course. I mean, you know that I'm a big Joe Perry Project fan, but I mean, at the time, I didn't realize that he would make so many great solo records, especially the "Once a Rocker, Always a Rocker." I had no idea back then when I was 12 that that was down the road.
I'm just kidding. You were making it.
No, I know. But yeah, I mean, I was mad. I was upset that when he got back together with Aerosmith. I think I mentioned that in an interview or two, Mock.
Did made two of us. All right,
Yes.
in there.
So
So we got a couple more songs.
couple more songs, right? I am gonna go with my number two song, which again was one of those songs that was kind of released as a single, but never really got the traction. And when they play it live, and I'm there to see them play it live, I get real happy. This is a song that lyrically, and I'll tell you what it is. It's Kings and Queens, which was from the Draw the Line record, which was a great friggin' record. And it really doesn't get the credit that it deserves. Um, it was the Kings and Queens was a song that actually Joe Perry had nothing to do with writing. It was Steven Tyler, it was Brad Whitford, it was Tom Hamilton, it was Joey Kramer, and it was the producer Jack Douglas who were responsible for writing that song. And like I said, it did receive some airplay. It was released as a single after Draw the Line. It was released on February 21st, 1978. But I mean, for Steven Tyler, lyrically, it kind of like went into like a different direction for him. It wasn't something that that topic wasn't something that he would usually try to tackle. I mean, he did a lot of like, sexual innuendo type of lyrics, but this was a serious, like, kind of a serious topic about like medieval times and the holy wars and how a lot of people lost their lives for their like you know their religious beliefs and things like that. And he kind of like put himself in that mindset. So I thought that was really brilliant. I think the music's great, the song's great, and it definitely should be one of those songs that is in the top five Aerosmith songs of all time.
Yeah, definitely. That almost made my list as well. But what did chime in at number two was is a song that for the longest time was always my number one. But for whatever reason, when I made this list, I sat down and I decided, there's one song I like better than this one after all these years, but this one has always hit home hard with me as well. And I'm talking off of Get Your Wings, none other than Seasons of Wither.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
Just a classic song. Seen him play it live many times, but the very first time I've ever seen him do it It was 1994 on that tour. And I'll tell you, the Odd didn't have the greatest acoustics. It was an old arena, similar to the Boston Garden, just an old dilapidated arena that never was built for sound. But what happened was, I just, when they started playing it, I didn't, back then there was no internet. We didn't know what they were going to play next, or have an idea of what they've been playing or anything like that. So when they played it, it was just phenomenal. And literally, I felt the goosebumps going up and down my arm hearing that song live and seeing it for the first time. It was just a great experience.
Awesome, awesome. But I wish I would have went to that show. That's one show I missed.
Yeah, it was definitely a good show. Before '94, so that was before, well, it was the back end of the Get a Grip tour, I guess it would have been. But they only did like a limited dates on that tour when they came because it was around Chris. It was in December.
Yeah.
So it was like it was kind of like not really the Get a Grip tour, but they kind of were touring. I think the Big Ones album kind of at the time because I think they played Deuces Are Wild too.
Oh, that's a great song.
Yeah.
That almost made my list too. All right, so I'm gonna go with number one. You ready? We gotta wrap this up, guys. Here we go. Number one for me. Here we go. Drum roll. Fine. Fine. Yeah, great song off of the Pump record, which was a great record that was released in September of 1989. Fine. Um, what does that mean, Joe? Do you know? Do you know what it means?
I know what it means.
You know what it means. The mock. You know what it means, right? The F is for fucked up. The N. Anyone? Joe, what's the N? Or I mean the
You
I.
forgot the I, the
I
insecure,
insecure and neurotic and E for
emotional.
there you go. Great song, almost punk rock like. The beginning track, the guitar track that goes into, and it's energy. It's like it cannot come on when I'm driving my car. I mean, I can't drive 55 with that on. That's for sure. Just a great song, and definitely, like I said, I should think it should. It's like I think it's up there with Walk This Way. It's such a great song. I love that song. Pump record was kind of like I thought the first half was good, and there were some tracks like towards the end that I kind of thought were kind of like just very, very average. But yeah, definitely Fine as one of my favorite songs.
All
Number one
right,
for you,
so
Joe.
yep, the big suspense. You ready for the drum roll? What knocked off Seasons of Wither finally after all these years?
Yep.
Comes from the 1977 album Draw the Line. Probably a song I don't think you guys would ever have thought I would think of here, but we're gonna go with I Want to Know Why.
Yep, it was
Off
on my
of
list.
the Yeah, it's just they used to play it a lot in the late '70s, and it just I don't know. That song I just really over the last 10 years, maybe from not hearing it anywhere, you go, you grow more fond of songs when you don't really, the overplay of Walk This Way, the overplay
Yeah.
of Sweet Emotion and Dream On. I mean, Living on the Edge is another one that I could do without. If I would never heard that song ever again, I'd be happy. You know what I'm saying? I just can't stand that song anymore. But I actually seen a rare thing one time in an Aerosmith concert. I actually went to a concert where they didn't play Dream On.
Wow.
Wow.
They didn't run out of time or anything. I don't know if they skipped it and didn't realize it till later or what, but they actually never played that song that night. And I mean, that's one I never get sick of that song. But Walk This Way, I can do without that. I would love it if I went to see a show without that.
Especially that horrific rap version of it. Sorry,
uh,
but yeah, never a big fan of that. All right, so that's it. Those are the top five songs of each, and we want to thank Mach Bell for being our special guest, and seeing that we put out our call for you, and you were able to like respond right away. That's amazing. Thank you so much.
I don't mess around with the mafia, man.
The Buffalo Music Mafia. Yes, that's right. So thank you, Mock, for being our guest on episode number two. And I don't
yes.
know, Joe, what do you think? I'm sure we'll see him again soon, don't you?
Oh, I'm sure. But I was gonna ask him if he had anything else he wanted to add to this episode for us before we let him go.
I think I thought those songs were amazing, man. And just thinking about Seasons of Wither, I mean, what an that's an athletic event for Steven to sing that song. And I was just wondering, if maybe one night he didn't want to do Dream On because I mean, to that's a big commitment. You start. It's like the national anthem. You start it, and then it comes to those really high notes later on, and it's like, oh no. But yeah, no, I thought you guys came up with some great ones, and yeah, no, I don't have too much. I'll be at the Northeast Comic Con this summer if everything keeps on going the way it's supposed to. I was down at Gillette getting my shots, so let's. So yeah, I should be 4th of July weekend. I'll be signing books and hanging out with rock and rollers at the Northeast Comic Con in Boxborough, Massachusetts. And otherwise, check out oncearocker.com. I got a lot of stuff in between now and then. Who knows? I might be back with these two dangerous characters again.
Yeah, we're super dangerous, man. All right, sounds good. Well, thank you, Mark. I really appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
Great.
Yep.
All right.
Long.
Take care.
All
Can
right.
I fly out of here like I flew in?
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yes.
Here I
There he
go.
goes, everyone.